Your community connection. And we're here visiting with Jared Hendricks from the Owatonna Public Utilities. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're always a fountain of information. Today we're going to be talking about water, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So Jared, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm the Marketing and Energy Conservation Officer for the Owatonna Public Utilities. So I really work with a lot of our marketing efforts. I work heavily with our marketing committee on the newsletter, the messages you hear on the radio, this event, as well as our conservation efforts, whether it's water, electric, or natural gas. So our rebate programs, our education about conservation, things of that nature, and it's really enjoyable.
So you're sort of the guy in the know. You get all the memos about all what's happening in conservation and sustainability and all the new things that communities are trying?
I can't say I get them all, but I get as many as I can, yes.
Well, you're in the loop.
I am in the loop to the best of my ability.
More
absolutely.
than most of us. So you're here to share. You're here to share the information.
I am today.
So today we're talking about water.
Yes.
And we're talking about the water. Are we talking about water quality, or are we talking about water management today?
More water management, water conservation. Both as kind of what you can do as a homeowner or business person, as well as what Owatonna in general has been doing.
Okay. So what's the state of affairs with water issues? Is it because of California having their issues that more people are taking notice, or?
I think California is a great way to bring light to an issue that is at hand. It's an extreme case of what prolonged drought can do. In an area that doesn't normally get a lot of water, it really shows the symptoms very quickly. Mm-hmm. In Minnesota, although you don't really think of it, because we've got, you turn around and there's another lake, and there's another lake and a stream and a river. But we have issues here in Minnesota as well. White Bear Lake is a prime example. I think it's about 5 feet the water level is down from normal levels. 5 feet is a lot of difference. And you might not think about it, well, maybe the lake's 30 feet deep in average, so it's only 25 feet deep. But that might mean a very large percentage of beach frontage that is now a lot larger and makes it less usable. I saw pictures where people had to put out hundreds of extra feet of dock on White Bear Lake so that they could put their boat in the water because they had a nice shallow sloping frontage in the past. So when you go down 5 feet, you get a lot more land showing, which then can turn into marshes. Instead of being lake bottom, it starts to become more land.
And then it can become financial as well for those that have property on lakes.
Right. So. Another example there too, they have a beach that's been closed for years now because you can't go swimming on it. There's nowhere to swim because all of that sand beach is turning into more of a wetland marsh area. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of sad in a way.
It really is. It really is.
Especially for a state that takes such pride in all of its lakes. So so what is Owatonna Public Utilities advice to us right now? What do we need to know about conservation?
Well,
here?
Water conservation is very important, as important or more important in my mind as electric and natural gas conservation. All of it are resources, whether it's the fossil fuels we burn for electricity or it's the water we run out of our taps. There is
for instance, with the sprinklers, the pools, can you share some tips there?
We all need to find ways to help. So one of the first things you can do, is making sure that we're using it reasonably and wisely. Sprinkling your yard when it's windy out and really sunny out is really not the best time. A lot of that water will get blown away in mist. The sun will evaporate a lot of it. You're not getting that good, deep soil penetration with the water. So that, the first thing we can recommend is make sure that you're fully saturating your soil. When you sprinkle your yard, use about 1 inch of water. That'll make sure you fully saturate it without excess runoff. Also, don't do it during the heat of the day or when it's really windy, to again promote making sure that water gets into the ground. So we recommend an early morning watering, 4 or 5 a.m. if you've got a timer on your sprinkler system, and making sure not to water when it doesn't need it. Excess water in the ground isn't going to make your grass grow better, it's just going to cause excess runoff. can promote disease too if you get too much water too often on your ground. One of the things I hate is to see a sprinkler system running while it's raining outside. All of that water that's coming out of that sprinkler system is just wasted water then. So make sure that your ground needs it first. If you step on the grass and it kind of bounces back a little bit, you're good to wait another day or two. If you step on the grass and it just completely lays flat, it's kind of crunchy, it's now time to water. Check the forecast. If it's going to rain that night, see if you can hold off one more day. And your grass is pretty resilient. It bounces back on its own very well. It knows how to take care of itself. You brought up pools. If you've got a pool, make sure to cover it during the day when you're not using it. Pool evaporation is a large source of lost water. That's what they find is happening with some of the lakes in Minnesota is excess evaporation without rain to replenish it. So if you cover that pool, it'll keep that water inside the pool. It'll keep you from having to refill it as often. You're still going to lose some. You'll still have to top it off once in a while. But that's another good way. Of course, shutting the water off when you brush your teeth, taking shorter showers, using low-flow shower heads, things like that all help too.
Is there a sprinkler you can recommend? Or?
We use what we call rotating sprinkler nozzles. Instead of the ones that kind of go ka-chunk, 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 they're actually streams of water that just rotate slowly. The nice things about that is you can make sure that you're not trying to water the sidewalk. It's a nice stream of water and there's less mist to get blown away, so more of the water makes it to the ground. That's for in-the-ground irrigation controllers. Other sprinklers that you're going to use, try to find ones that have a good stream that don't create a lot of mist. That mist is where that water gets blown off and is evaporated more quickly. Can
you share with us a report on how Owatonna is measuring up in
Sure.
all this water conservation?
Well, Owatonna's continued to grow. After the 2008 housing fallout, it hasn't grown as quickly, but between 2005 and 2015, we've reduced the actual amount of water we pump on an annual basis by right around 7%. And that's while Owatonna continues to grow. I can't say exactly how much we've grown, but we are continuing to grow, and we're continuing to lower our water consumption in town. That's due to a lot of efforts, not only residentially, but as well as our commercial and industrial customers are finding ways to reduce their water consumption as well.
Okay, and you need a permit to pump water.
We do. As a municipal water supplier, we actually do get a permit from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. In that permit, it tells us how much we can pump on an annual basis. And we have been bumping up against that in the last couple of decades. But we are, like I said, we are reducing our consumption. We're bringing it back down. But we do have a maximum amount of water that we can pump as a water supplier.
Why is that? Why do you need a permit?
It's to ensure that there's enough water in the aquifer or groundwater, or surface water, excuse me, if you're pumping from a surface water source. It's to ensure that there's enough water for our community, for other communities, for the future as well. If we overpump those aquifers, groundwater tables might go down. You might have reduced water for communities that need it, and you might start to see more lakes act like White Bear Lake and start to lower their surface water.
What are some of the things that you've seen the city do to help in this conservation? What's one big one that you...
I think one of the most visible things that the city has been doing is the last year or two we've been working on, we as the utilities have been working with the city to help reduce how many drinking fountains in the parks are running nonstop. For many years they have been just running. We turn them on in the spring and they run day and night until we turn them off in the fall for the winter. So we're getting back to being able to have those on push buttons or valves so you can turn them on to use them and turn them back off again and reduce that.
Just give the statistic on how much water that
Thanks.
saves.
Yeah, if you think
of the drinking fountains alone.
If you think of a football field, you could cover a football field in 5.5 feet of water, so almost as tall as I am, with the amount of water we save every year to have those drinking fountains shut off.
And quickly, what is industry? One of the things industry has been doing also here to conserve.
One of the easiest ones to talk about is making sure that they reuse some of their water. Some of the commercial buildings in the past have used what we call single pass water for cooling. And they run it from the city water supply through the cooling equipment just one time and put it down a drain. They've been able to recapture that water and recycle it and reuse it again. That's a great way that we've reduced consumption in Owatonna as well.
And I think another thing you had mentioned was wait till you have a full load of dishes in the dishwasher.
Absolutely. Wait till you have a full load of dishes or a full load of clothes to wash them.
So we're in good shape.
We're in good shape right
But
now.
we got to keep our best foot forward.
Absolutely. Every effort helps, no matter how small you might think it is, and we need everybody to help.
Thanks for coming in and
Thank
sharing.
you very much for having me.
We will take a quick break to hear a message from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. So please stay with us.